Go for main engine start.
We have a go for main engine start. Mission and liftoff of Discovery, celebrating its 25th birthday by racking up science and supplies to the space station.
The solid rocket boosters a little away.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check. Roger, roll.
Everyone knows the somewhat less than ideal situation NASA currently finds itself in, where the only available transportation to the International Space Station is via Soyuz rockets launched in Kazakhstan by Roscosmos. This is soon to change with the aid of SpaceX and their Crew Dragon capsule. But imagine the situation being reversed. Imagine a world in which the Russians are the ones with the operational space station, and the Americans are the ones supplying it and crewing it. It lacks the necessity factor, as the Russians have been using the Soyuz reliably since the 1960s, but this is essentially what the shuttle Mir missions amounted to. After the first docking went so smoothly, STS-74 launched Shuttle Atlantis to rendezvous and deliver the Russian-built Mir docking module, which would allow the shuttle to dock without the station needing to move its Kristall docking module. STS-76 would return Atlantis, along with a Space Hab module used primarily for stowage, and several more experiments that were attached to the Mir during spacewalks. STS-79 transferred a record 2,000 pounds of equipment from Mir to Atlantis, and stayed docked with the station for an extended stay of 6 months. The transfer record was broken by the next flight, STS-81, also by Atlantis, which transferred almost 6,000 pounds of logistics to and from the Mir. Now, here's a little fact I find odd. On all of those missions I just mentioned, not a single one had astronauts and cosmonauts on an EVA together. The first joint spacewalk would occur in 1997, during STS-84, with astronaut Jerry Linegar and cosmonaut Vasily Desibliev. The two attached a monitor to the outside of the station meant to observe the effects of space on certain reflective equipment like those used in telescopes. Plus, I think it's worth noting, there's this, an image one of the astronauts managed to snap of Comet Hale-Bopp as it passed through the solar system. Atlantis would dock with Mir once more before being taken out of service for repairs and upgrades, including the installation of a glass cockpit, which is a cockpit that uses numerous LCD displays instead of analog ones. 2 more trips would be made by Endeavour and Discovery, which would end the shuttle Mir missions. The Mir was getting old. In February of 1997, she suffered a fire that, while harming no one, forced the crew to wear respirators for 2 days until the smoke was sufficiently filtered out. One of its modules, Spectre, was damaged by a collision in the same year, and while repairs took care of most of the effective damage of the solar panels, the module itself was left depressurized and empty until the end of Mir's life.
Проносится подо мной, я прищуриваюсь, и в это время, значит, мощный такой удар потрясает станцию.
I felt through my fingers a shudder, a thump on the station, and I heard what seemed to be far off, a ka-thump. At that point, I knew we had been hit by the Progress.
It was around this time that the Russians would launch the first piece of something new and exciting, but before we get to that, let's discuss the Buran spacecraft. You see, the United States weren't the only country to try the reusable orbiter thing. As if to mirror the space race of the Apollo era, the Soviet Union designed the Buran spaceplane, which has some design inspiration that may seem a little familiar. It was physically slightly larger than the NASA shuttle, and its only flight was an uncrewed one. In 1988, the Soviet launch system Energia put the Buran spaceplane into orbit. It then boosted itself into a slightly higher orbit, went around the Earth twice, and then performed a retrograde burn to re-enter the atmosphere. It touched down under its own control without issue, having lost only 8 of its 38,000 thermal protection tiles. It had performed perfectly. However, it would never fly again. Why? The dissolution of the Soviet Union. The Buran was unfortunately forgotten amidst the transfer of budgets and power, and relegated to a hangar without funding for more or further launches. The worst part? In 2002, during a particularly powerful storm, the hangar collapsed, sealing the then 20-year-old spaceplane's fate. But let's end this on a happier note. Keeping with the theme of what the Russians were up to, in 1998, a Proton rocket would launch a single module into space that would, eventually, change everything.
with a thrust of 2.5 million pounds. You don't want to be anywhere close by when they light that fuse.
I'm talking about this, called the Zarya module. This may look like any other satellite to you, but those of you who know the module's name already know what this is. It would require a lot of work, including a lot of work done by the space shuttle, but this was the very first piece of the International Space Station. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is DeadKennedyInSpace. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Live there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.